Hello everyone. Um, I'm showing you a little video about my studio collection of the Rembrandt watercolor paints that I received this summer. And I wanted to show you that because to own a full collection of paints is super lovely because you have all the colors and especially this brand, I think the colors, the collection is very well balanced. But it also takes a little bit of work, quite a bit of work actually. Because I don't know how you guys think of it. I know that some people like to work with only a few colors, and many of those people I noticed work with from tubes. But I like to work with a lot of colors. My style is more illustrative and I like to have a lot of colors. So I also want to have them ready at hand. I don't like having to search for a tube for a specific color, put some paint on my palette, screwing the lid back on, and then finding another tube and then being left with the leftover paint. So I really prefer to have it in palettes. So what I did is I created these studio boxes with the full color range. So I'll show you them side by side. And I'm filming this with my webcam. So I hope the colors are a bit nice. So this is the full collection. This is 120 colors. It's the full Rembrandt range. And I use this brochure to take notes and to help me make the color chart and tell you a thing or two about them. So that was for my previous video, but so this is how I did it. Now, what I want to show you is that these are not straightforward boxes that were made for this purpose. Not at all. So I wanted to have relatively small boxes because there are these huge studio palettes, big round ones where you might be able to chuck in 120 colors. But I wanted these to be stackable, so I want to be able to put these away from my worktop if I don't work with these. At the same time, I wanted them to be small enough to have them both on my table for when I am working with this brand of paint, which has been a lot recently. So what I did is I set out to find wooden boxes, and these I will put all the links. You will find the links to the supplies that I used below the video, and mind you, many of these products I bought close to home, so you might have to find your way around it or see if you can find something similar in a local store for you. But if I wanted to use, ready-made palettes, this was going to be very expensive, or I was going to have to buy a lot of palettes to make this fit. So I chose to do it this way. So I bought these wooden boxes that are actually pastel boxes. So when I got them, there was foam glued in here on the top to protect the pastels, and there was ribbed cardboard on the bottom. So I had to pull that out, and then there was glue that I had to scrape off. So these boxes were harmed a little bit because this is just plywood. But since I was going to stick all these pans in, it didn't matter very much. And in the top, I glued in the color charts because I want to see exactly which colors they are. These are artist grade colors, so especially in the darker colors, you can't really see the difference between the colors. So you need to have color charts for these. So then I got these boxes. They were actually really cheap. They were not even €8. There were some other options that were really beautiful and lovely, but they were gonna set me back a lot of money. So I wanted to have something that was practical and affordable. So these boxes, but if you have a big cigar case, that might work. or a big box for to hold color pencils in, that would do. And of course you would need less space if you use only half pans. But that is something that I chose to have full pans because I like how I can use bigger brushes in these pans as well, and how these pans will just last me a lot longer than when I use smaller pans. So talking about pans, that is something I hardly ever order anything from China because I feel it's important to support our local and national stores, because if we want them to exist and if we want them to have a good stock, we need to also buy there. And I almost always do that. I think in 99.99999% of the time I do that. But these pans are an example of something that's hardly affordable here. At least that's to say, if you need to replace only one pan, you can, it's okay to order from a local store for me. But now I needed 120. So that's a lot of pans. And that was seriously unaffordable to do it here in the Netherlands. So I ordered these from China. And I also put a link in, there's a link to them. Now, when you do decide to order pans or half pans or full pans in China, you have to be very careful because the texts are not always very reliable. Delivery is not always very reliable. Quality is not very reliable. But I had some good experience with Barteen. I have a link down there. These are Barteen full pans. They are empty. The term full pans, if you don't know, refers to the size. This is one full pan. And then there's also half pans. If you start out with student grade watercolor, you probably bought a set and then you have a half pan. So that's about half of a full pan. But don't be fooled, because in China, they also will sell, I don't even know if this is a quarter pan or a sixth pan or an eighth pan, they will sell these for half, and they will sell them as half pans. And as you can see, they clearly are not half of a full pan. So I have these, and I have these because I did some giveaways a couple of months, no, say, I think it was last year. I did the last giveaway, and I did them in these pans, so it was, good for me to send, which is harder in these, and affordable, and I was able to squeeze out paint to a lot of people. So that's why I use these, and these do make, if you have a little Altoid box or a little candy box, and if you glue in these mini pans, they make a really nice travel kit. So they are cute, but if you are looking to buy this, it's going to be a disappointment, and if you're looking to buy this, it's going to be a huge disappointment. So I buy full pans. Now, delivery time from China was, in this case, very, very okay. I actually ordered 3 batches, 3 different orders of these pans, because I know, not from my own experience, but from people I talk to, that a lot of these orders don't arrive at all. Mine all arrived, so I have a huge excess of half and full pans right now. But that's okay, because I also have another set of paints that I still want to review, and I want to make a set of. Okay, so I had the wooden boxes and I had the pans, and these took about, I think, 11 days to get home so I could move on with my project. But then, as you can see, there is space between these pans, because I couldn't fit a full pan here, not even half one, so I had to do something with that space, and I decided to evenly divide the space that was left between the pans, which also comes in handy. Like, let's say you want to have this color and you put this in here, but you see a lot of paint and water has been loaded onto your brush, then you can just, you know, caress it off here, and then you won't contaminate the color right beside it. So to have a couple of millimeters between them is actually really great. So how I did that was like child's play, really, but let me see where I can show you best. I think here. Yeah. I simply use wooden skewers, and I laid them down, skewer pans, and I made rows, and I put skewers. I did put skewers in between all of these because there wasn't enough space, so I divided it in, I evenly divided it and made it, you know, into a nice and even spread, so to speak. So, and then these are, I can still take these out, but all the paint, all the pans that contain paint, I glued onto the box because this is a full collection. I am not going to flip it around. This is not my custom-made palette. In a custom-made palette, I might like to keep things mobile, so then I would probably, I'm still working on my custom-made palette. The thing is, every time I think I've got my favorite paints lined up, this summer I thought I had it all worked out, and then this set came, and this is definitely becoming one of my favorite sets to work with because the color collection is so beautifully, it's such a very well planned out assortment of colors that I sort of never really took any other paint except for some Primitex by Daniel Smith, but I find myself going back to this set over and over again, and to another set that I will tell you about in one of my next videos. But normally, if you would do this for a personal favorite palette, then you might like to glue on some magnetic adhesive and then put all of this in a metal tin. That would be maybe a little bit better workable. But if you are looking for a solution to store and use your full collection of a brand, I know that not many people have it, but I also know now that many people actually do collect all the colors of one brand. But then this would be the way to go, I think, to just glue it down, because the moment you run out of a color, you will replace it anyway. So here are some empty pans, and I'm keeping these empty pans for the future, when Rembrandt might add new colors, or they might change, you know, a pigment or something. I'm simply gonna keep up with them now. I'm gonna try that because I lost them out of sight completely. And the moment I wanted to order a lot of paints, I thought I had them all complete. And then when I wanted to order the remaining colors I didn't have yet, I found out that they had expanded their collection. So I have some room now to grow with them, and I really, really like that. So then I had the boxes, and I had the pans, and I had the paint, and I had the skewers, and it was time to start filling them all up. Right, one thing I find very, if you work with full pans, I like to not fill them up completely. I did that with other paints in the past. I was very enthusiastic, and I filled them to the top of the pans. But when you start adding water to them, a few drops, and you want to stir in them to re-wet them and to pick up some paint, you will find that if you fill them up completely, you will spill paint. And I think it's a waste of paint, but also this is more practical. So if you do this, this would be the way to go, I think. Okay, so then, like I said, I think it's very important that you glue in a color chart of the actual hand-painted colors. I choose not to add the name information, but I do use the light fastness symbols here, because here, for example, is a light fastness that's a little under good, that those are poor light fastness. The moment I want to paint something for commission or to sell, I will not use these and choose an alternative instead. So that's information I like. The name of the paint or the pigment I do not find too important for my studio, for a set that I work with. I have my I have these color charts that you can also see in the blog post that I did about these paints. You will find that below the video when you see there will be a link for hand painted color charts of Rembrandt. There you will see these color charts, and there you will find more information about my painting these, and because I have videos online of this paint and what I think of this paint, my first impressions of the new collection. But I think it's very important you have this information, and the rest of the information, especially when you have a full collection, it's very important, I think, to have a brochure. And Schminky Horredam have a wonderful brochure that I think is still my favorite because they provide so much information also about the chemical stuff, and about they even give some advice in their brochure about what you can use certain colors for, which may seem a little bit strange, but on the other hand, you know, if you want to paint skin tones, some colors simply work better than others, even though they might on first glance look good enough. But still, this Rembrandt brochure is also very good because it gives the name, of course, and the pigments, and for some, for the new pigments and the improved colors, they also give some extra information. So this I will put in here. Right. When another thing you might also put in there is a little palette. It's super cheap, it's super small, it's, you know, flimsy, and it's not very great, but you might like to put that in here. And because there is some space left here, because I took out the foam, you can chuck it in, and there you still have a palette if you like that. In another of my studio sets, I glued the palettes to in the lid, which is not very handy because the moment this paint has not dried up yet, you can't close the lid and you will start catching dust, which is not very handy. So a last thing I want to tell you, I want to share with you. Here I glued in a little how do you say this? A folder? A little plastic folder to protect this sheet. I'm gonna see, can you see this? This, I put some plastic tape on top. This not yet because this is still empty. I'm keeping this for future paints. But I plasticized, is that a word? Plasticized? It's actually a very literal translation of the Dutch word plastificeren, when you want to protect a certain paper surface from water. So of course I do this because there will definitely be drops of water on the sides, on the top of my palette pans. So when I close it, I don't want to contaminate my color chart. So that's what I do. I just use plastic tape to protect that. And the one I use is Tesa. I don't know if you have that, but it's any transparent packing tape. And so far, I haven't found it to alter the colors of the color chart too much. But I can always compare. That's why I have more than one color chart. Can always compare this to the original and see if the colors are still okay. So the moment they have changed too much, if the glue should affect the colors, I will do it again, and then you can just do it periodically. But you will really need, especially with such a big collection of paints, you will definitely need a color chart. So the only thing I haven't told you yet is that I use this glue. This is without solvents, although it doesn't really matter, I think, if you use anything with solvents, because it's just glue to glue in the pans. And I don't even know if it's available all over the world, but I use this a lot for gluing my pans in boxes. I do it all the time because I collect too much paint anyway, and when you have a lot of paints and you want to collect them all in together in a beautiful set, you just want to glue everything in and make it a fixed whole, because that looks really great. These boxes work great. Right now I put them down. When I work with them, I actually shove them to the back. I won't do it now because then you won't be able to see it, but there is a windowsill and the lids will be up and I will be able to see my color chart very well, and that allows me to paint really fast. One thing about a color chart like this, if you put in a color chart in your paint box, it's a very, very good idea to make the rectangles or the spaces where you paint your color in as big as your pans, because then the only thing you have to do is simply, you know, look up that color and then you go down like, okay, that's this one. So you don't have to start counting. It's, you know, the fourth from the right and the fourth from the bottom. It's just like you go, okay, it's this one. Yep, it's easier. And I know because last week I redid one that I had actually made a color chart that was too small, because it was just a couple of centimeters smaller than, you know, in height and in width than the actual surface of the pans. But it was a hassle every time to look for the right color, because I had to start counting, because I had a box as big as this with half pans. So that was our sort of like it was sort of a hassle to deal with that. So, well, I hope I gave you an idea of how you can compose your set. You know, you can also use such a wooden box. You can glue in a little metal sheet. There is this, it's not sheet paper, it's like aluminium foil, but then metal sheet. You can just put it in here, glue it in, and then with some uh, magnetic adhesive you can put at the bottom of your pans, so then you can make it into a custom personalized paint set. So this just works really, really nice, and I think this is also a very good way. If you're working with watercolors, if you're used to working with pens, you're probably also used to seeing your paints the moment you paint with them. And for me, I'm very visual. I need to see the colors that I'm working with. I can't do that from a tube, and so when I see it, I know what I can do with it. And for me, this was the way to do it. So I hope this has given you a few clues about how you might go about it. If there are any questions, then by all means go ahead and ask. And if you like my video, then subscribe to my channel, and maybe you want to hop along on my website. My next videos are going to be about this Rembrandt paint, but I also have a video upcoming, and I think it's going to be a podcast in there somewhere, about studio quality paint. That's really, really super, super good. So I hope to see you again in my next videos. And until then, thank you very much for watching. Bye!